Family greetings, welcome back to my channel. Family, I really thought better of Taharka Bay on MoorishWorldTv. Honestly, I thought that he was a brother that had character, a brother that had integrity, and he was being, above all, honest when he gives his opinions and his takes. But I believe his recent run ins with Tariq Nasheed have warped his outlook, and he's now even allowed his resentment for Tariq Nasheed to poison his outlook of reparations. Okay, we know that in Los Angeles, Tariq Nasheed and Taharka Bey had a physical altercation in which Tariq Nasheed assaulted Taharka Bey. All right, this is documented. There's a video on my channel. One of my shorts on my channel actually shows the altercation. And ever since this altercation, and actually even before this altercation, they've had like a bitter back and forth on the internet, right? Which ultimately culminated in the slap when Tariq Nasheed slapped Taharka Bey, right? But family, Taharka Bey, as I said, has let this situation poison his outlook of even reparations. And he's now taken to shaming the black community for demanding justice for ancestors, right? We demand justice for our ancestors for the 400 years of slavery, abuse, um, murder, um, the captivity, the punishments, and the cruelties that were beset on our people, right? But as I said, due to him having resentment for Tariq Nasheed, everything that Tariq Nasheed does is wrong. Every single part of his platform is something to criticize, right? And so he's taken to now even criticizing reparations. He's now said that reparations would be like begging from the oppressor, right? Now, everybody is entitled to their opinion. I always like to hear even some divergent opinions because it gives us more things to consider, more perspectives on our situation. But this particular opinion that he's taken is a very flawed outlook. I would I thought better of the brother. I thought he actually had more common sense than that. But to actually say that demanding accountability from our oppressors is begging just basically proves that he's not thinking about the issue at all, right? Why is justice only good when it's actually bestowed on other races, right? When the Japanese were placed in internment camps in America, they received reparations from the US government, right? When our people were being released from slavery on various plantations, in some of our territories, the slave masters were actually paid millions of dollars in exchange for our release, right? I can say that in the Bahamas, slave owners received millions in reparations for releasing our people. So the slave master got reparations. The Japanese got reparations. The Native American got reparations in the form of, I guess, getting to keep some reservations where they can live separate from the rest of the American society. But my point is, if all of these people recognize that if an atrocity has been committed and they recognize that the atrocity has to be um, the subject of restitution, why does this not apply to the black race? I really want Taharka Bey to answer this question because I think it's a really foolish approach to take. It's disgraceful, it's disrespectful to our ancestors for him to even make this assertion that their descendants, in seeking restitution and restorative justice, are begging. You know, it actually sounds like the kind of thing you would hear the descendants of slave masters say, right? Because many descendants of slave masters actually criticize black people for wanting reparations. They actually said that we need to pull ourselves up by our bootstraps, pull up our socks, and elevate ourselves despite the decades and centuries of atrocities, right? Today, if a person is physically assaulted in the United States, it's possible that they could even receive 5 million, $10 million um, as a result of being assaulted by somebody with wealth, right? And this might have just occurred on one occasion, right? But the law is such that this person can receive damages for a single encounter, right? And Taharka Bey is asking us to forgive 400 years of abuse, 4 centuries of abuse, and basically chalk it up to um, or charge it to the game. He wants us to charge 400 years of abuse and enslavement to the game. I believe that this is an unacceptable outlook. We need people in our community that will be thinking. We need people that will recognize the conditions that we are in and make some attempt to remedy them. But I don't believe throwing in the towel and forgetting about 4 centuries of abuse is the right approach, right? Now, many things he says on his channel I agree with. There are many things Taharka Bey speaks about, even regarding FBA. I have a lot of points that there are many points that our opinions converge on, right? Um, Prior to him addressing Tariq Nasheed, I've been saying this for years. He has recently taken this crusade up to actually approach FBA in the way he is now. But prior to him making the first video about FBA, I had already made several videos discussing the implications of the statements that they make. Okay, and so I just wanted to make that point very clear. I think Taharka Bey is letting this FBA hate and his Tariq Nasheed hate cause him to now have a warped outlook on even like some very clear facts, right? If reparations is good enough for the Japanese, reparations is good enough for the descendants of Africa. All right. If reparations is good enough for the Jews and the Holocaust, reparations is good enough for the black man. And many people they take on these positions that they think are very progressive and very forward thinking, but it really amounts to you capitulating to the oppressor more so than actually opposing the oppressor. Okay, I've never heard a Moor in America, even from the Moorish Science Temple of America, criticize reparations or even make any assertions about reparations being tantamount to begging. You know, it doesn't sound good coming from a black person. I had to wonder if he's in blackface because to even make that kind of claim shows a clear disconnect from reality, a clear disconnect from even having any sense of pride for your community, any sense of concern for your community. Okay, family. But before this video gets too long, let me know your thoughts in the comments below about all these dynamics. One love.